Hi, I'm Rachel Tessman from stampyourartout.com. On December 24th, I shared fun alternate projects using the contents of the December 2021 Paper Pumpkin Kit from Stampin' Up, titled Lots of Pun. And today, I'd like to share with you a few more. I'll be using a few extra supplies as I share these unique projects. You can find these items listed below and linked to my online store. You can also find links for getting information regarding Paper Pumpkin Kits, for getting your subscription started, for the video that I shared on the 24th, for my blog post where you can find photos of all that I create today, and more. If you don't have this December kit, or you've used it all up by now, I hope you can adapt some of these ideas to products you do have. Let's get started. I usually share about 4 different times during the month after I get a Paper Pumpkin Kit. Right away with lots of projects in a video, and I share that publicly on YouTube. And then I come up with an exclusive project, and my team of demonstrators that I work with also creates exclusive projects. But this month I took that month off. And then I usually share a couple other times on my blog, including today, which is the 10th of the month, and another time of the month on the Paper Pumpkin Thing blog hop. But I've only shared one other time so far. I had some things that came up. I mean, the holidays, it was busy, right? Then I also had a surgery. So please forgive me for sharing everything else on the last day here on the 10th. This is the last day, by the way, to sign up to make sure that you have an active subscription for the upcoming kit, which will ship out soon. It is the Kisses and Hugs Paper Pumpkin Kit. So if you're enjoying the alternate projects that I share, if you enjoy the idea of Paper Pumpkin Kits, you might want to click on one of those links below so that you can get started. All right, so this first project is just a simple one. I don't use much extra besides the kit contents. I've got my card base, which I've folded and I've already stamped using the little polka dot stamp here. It's going to be an explosion card. So this is what I did. I took my circles, my vellum circle, and I cut it starting from the outside edge and made just this continuous little spiral by continuing to just cut right inside that outside edge, which will eventually just shrink and get smaller and smaller and smaller. You can make the width of this spiral strand as wide as you want or as narrow as you want. I found that the more narrow I had it, the more I could stretch it. So you don't want to get too thick is basically what I'm telling you. So you'll just keep cutting. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Then what you'll do is you'll place it inside your card. You'll put a little bit of glue, and I just used the multi-purpose liquid glue just in the center, and I pressed it down and held it. And then after that, it was glued to this side, right? I put a little bit of glue here and closed it down and held it. And when I open it up, this piece was over here and this piece was over here. So it created this spiral when you opened it up. Another thing that I want to instruct you on is the top portion of the card. So for the top portion, I used this piece right here, that little frame piece. I stamped Celebrate Go Bananas, and I'm using the inks or the ink that came in the kit. So no alternate inks right now. All these supplies came in the kit. So I stamped it on the blue little strip. I mounted that on the vellum strip. Used the glue dots that came in the kit to mount it on here diagonally. So there's just a little glue dot behind this corner and behind this corner. And then I took one more of those blue strips, cut it in half, did a couple little angle cuts towards the end, and added them to the back side so it looked like a continuous little banner. Then I just placed that piece up on dimensionals in the center of the front of the card, like so. And on the inside, I added some of the bananas. So it's going to use up quite a few bananas unless you want to stamp, because you do have a stamp image here. So you could stamp, color in, and cut out a bunch of extra bananas if you'd like to. I was lazy. I used the pre-cut bananas that came in the kit, and I used these little speckles here, the yellow and blue speckle dots, which I think I'm going to add to the front here too. Presto changeo. And on the inside, I've got this. Look at that. How fun is that? Just a bunch of bananas on the vellum circles. I used the large vellum circle and the small vellum circle. I added some of those speckle dots. I added some of the adhesive little embellishments, and of course added a bunch of the bananas. Now you can double side the bananas if you want to, or you can lay it flat and look at it and say, which way can I add those bananas so that they tilt backwards just a tad? And those were the best places I could find for my little swirls. So I hope that you enjoyed that idea. I discovered that with my sharp blade, I can cut through the card stock, the chipboard that comes in the kit. So what I did is I cut it to the width I wanted, which was 3 3/4 of an inch. I want to check to make sure here. Yes, 3 3/4 of an inch. So I sliced, and then I lifted it up, flipped it over. I brought it right to that same exact spot on the trimmer, and I sliced again, and it cut. This extra piece I used to make a couple other chipboard pieces. This piece is 1 inch by 3 3/4, and then I had one more that's a 1/2 inch by 3 3/4. And those are going to get positioned up here to kind of stabilize one main object. So this magnet here you can purchase from Stampin' Up. It's our Stamparatus magnets. They're super, super strong, which is why I'm glad that we have these because of this project. You're going to need a super strong magnet. You're going to place it on this side of the chipboard, and we're going to glue it down. I used rubber cement to glue my chipboard and my magnet down. I'm sure you might be able to think of a stronger glue, but that's what we had on hand here at the house. I could not find, there was a glue that I used to have that was just splendid for this. So just Google strong glue for adhering metal to chipboard. Anyways, hopefully this will bond and stay. I've cut down a couple pieces from my card base. I've stamped my 4 pieces of food. I did originally use a glue that didn't work, which was a super glue. The chipboard was too porous and it was not bonding together. So what are the measurements of my remaining pieces? So I did add a little bit of chipboard in here as well. And I added, actually I think I measured with centimeters. I measured 1.5 centimeters by, and then in this direction, I measured 3/8 of an inch. So this piece here is 3/8 of an inch by 1.5 centimeters. These pieces here, this comes from the card base right here, and I kind of took it from the center so I wouldn't have a blue line on one side. All of these are 3 3/4 inches wide, and then the height. So this is 5.5 inches high. This one, which will go underneath, is 1 3/4 inches high, and this one is 1 7/8 inches high. Although you probably could get a little, well, maybe no, that's probably perfect. So that one's going to go on top. So we're going to now add all of these pieces using our multi-purpose liquid glue. The next step is to add your food across the top. So I've added the bread and the banana with the multi-purpose liquid glue, and then I put dimensionals on the back sides of my egg and my cherries. And I'm just going to kind of space these out as evenly as I can across the top. Very fun. Now, this is when I introduce a couple other stamp set choices because I was looking for something that would work for a grocery list. I'm thinking of, and then leave off the U. Get soon, leave off the word well. Don't forget. So I've stamped a couple of them on the speech bubbles that come in the kit. And you can see I took the early espresso marker and I just added a few dots after the I'm thinking of. So you could either set that like this or like this. Space out your cherries differently. So I think I'm going to add this one on there. Don't forget. And I've just put a thin line of the multi-purpose behind it. We'll add that so it's peeking right out the top. And then you can bring in a little sticky note pad. You can either put one on there, or if you're like us, we shop mainly at 2 different stores. So we like to have 2 Post-it notes going at the same time. One for Costco, one for Cub. And now this will go on my fridge, and whenever we think of something that we need to get or replenish, we'll just add it to our grocery list. With Valentine's Day coming up and my passion for cute little monsters, I decided to make a couple monster cards. And for that, you're going to need an envelope, which you're going to turn into the monster. So this is the first one. And for the first one, I took this envelope here and I trimmed it so that I could open it up. Trimmed off both sides. And then I sliced it so that I was bringing the top of the envelope to the 4¼ inch mark on my trimmer. Then I put another slice in the middle. First I first actually folded it in half. So you'll want to do that. You can do that by hand. Everyone's going to have a slightly different measurement on the width depending on how much you cut off the edges, but you're going to fold that in half and then you're going to slice in the middle. And it doesn't matter, I mean, it could be really anywhere in the middle. I sliced about 1½ inches in. And again, you could have your slit here, you could have it here, you could have it even wider than that. Then you're going to take and fold, and you're going to fold by hand. Then you don't have to get real technical about it or exact. You're just going to fold like this, and you're going to fold like that. And you can have this one angled up higher. You can see it's not a perfect 90-degree angle. You can have this one going like this instead. It's up to you how you want to do that. This is going to become the mouth of your creature. So I think I'm going to go up just a little bit higher with this one. And I'm just going to crease that with my fingernail, my bone folder, whatever works. Fold in the other direction just to make sure it's a nice sharp crease. And now when you open this up, you're going to poke these forward and the other ones back, and you've created a little talking monster. Super cute, right? So then I added eyes and hands to this guy. So I had these extra pieces here. I actually cut a strip here that went on the front, and then I used this remaining portion with my Ladybug Builder Punch and punched out a few little guys here. I punched out 2 of these and 4 of these, and then I added these here. Let me do one more. Then I added these like that to the back side of the body, and that became the monster's hands. So I did 2 sets, or yeah, 2 hands. The eyeballs I made by taking and cutting one of these in half. This is one of the speech bubbles. I cut it in half, and then I took one of the cherries. I removed this inner portion here. I trimmed off the stems. So I just had 2 circles with red in the middle. I cut them in half, and I put one on one and one on the other and stuck them coming up from the top. Then I used these classic matte dots to put little centers of the eyes on my monster. Although I would say, why don't you just stamp like a dot or put a little dot in with the help of your black Stampin' Right marker. Your Stampin' Right marker will also come in handy because it will be fun to turn this monster into like a cherry monster anyway. So go ahead and add a stem using your marker. And this is what I came up with. So I've got a little stem drawn in here. Instead of using the black Memento ink to stamp the whole cherry, I wanted these to look similar to the eyes that are inside on the monster. So I've stamped You Are Cherry Sweet with the Tuxedo black ink. I think I did, yeah, I trimmed off. So this is another speech bubble. And I flipped it over and I trimmed off that little divot there. So it's just a little label. This guy here is from one of our new punches called the Bow Punch. The Bow Punch. And I punched that out from Granny Apple Green cardstock. So I just brought in some extra Granny Apple Green. This is basic black cardstock, just a card base. And on the inside, here's the monster. Isn't he cute? Oh my goodness. So he's got these black eyes that kind of stick out kind of far. And that's why I suggested afterwards that you just color in the dots of the eyes with the marker instead of adding those. And here's the stem. You can see how I made a stem with a leaf on there. So he's a cherry monster, right? But his eyeballs don't have that outline. If you were to do that outline, here would be the issue. You could trim, but then you would have that connection where the cherry meets the stem, and unless you cut super close to that, then you're going to have that little black line above the eyeballs. You can monkey with it. Maybe it'll work for you. Here's another speech bubble with the I pick you. So you are cherry sweet, I pick you. Here's my little cherry monster. Where did I get the teeth from? The teeth are from the insides of these cherry pieces. These became the teeth of the monster. So I just put little glue dots and stuck them underneath inside the mouth of my monster. To get the envelope to go inside your card base, you'll just want to take your card base, and we'll just grab one from the kit here. You just want to take that and make sure that it's shoved as far in as you can. And once it's in place, you'll put adhesive here, not on the inside, but just here. And I use tear and tape adhesive. I stuck it down, it connected to that side, and then I flipped it over and I put another piece of tear and tape right here. I pushed it down, and then it held onto those two sides. You're going to have a slight gap in the middle, and that is quite all right. That's just the way those kinds of cards are. You're going to have that gap in there. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. So there's a slight gap in there. But as long as you can close the card, that's way more important than opening it flat, you know, like that. So there's one monster card. I have another monster card I want to show you. This one I did with the ink that comes in the kit. And then I used Early Espresso cardstock for the base and the Granny Apple Green for the base. This comes from the inside of one of the envelopes in the kit. And then the stamp images come from this set called Gumball Greetings. I choose you, which is what a monster does, chew, right? I choose you, Happy Valentine's Day. Those are the two sentiments I used. I stamped hearts. The hearts came from the Paper Pumpkin Kit stamp set. So there's that little heart image. Stamp those there in the Early Espresso ink. When you open it up, there is that monster. He's a little scarier looking. He's got eggs for the eyes. And I stamped the egg image on top, and I also stamped the hearts for the eyes. I stamped a couple hearts here. Happy Valentine's Day. This is that same branch, but I trimmed off the excess leaves here so that I made like a skinny little long arm with only 3 fingers on it. Same kind of idea. These teeth were made just by taking a strip of white cardstock and taking and making angle cuts so that I had little triangles, right? So that was it. I like him a little bit better, but my favorite color is green. Anyways, he's kind of funny, right? My next project is a scrapbook page, and for that I'm going to be using blends markers. I'm going to be using the Soft Succulent light blends. They do come in a pair, so you get the dark and the light together. I'm also using the Soft Succulent cardstock, and I'm using 12 by 12 for my base of my page, and then I have some scraps here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my my blends marker here, and I'm just going to add color to this strip. This strip is, oh gosh, I don't even know how long it is. It doesn't matter. You can make it as long as you want, but it's 1/8 of an inch wide because I thought that was a nice size for a stem of a flower. And then I'm going to go ahead and color this punched out leaf cluster from our bow punch. So what I'm doing is I'm basically just darkening up that cardstock a bit. So this is what it looked like before, this is what it looks like now, and after it dries it does lighten a tad, but it still has a little bit darker look to it against the Soft Succulent cardstock. So then what you'll do is you'll take and you'll do 3 of these strips, and you'll do 1 of the leaves, and you'll cut it around at that point. The next thing that I did is I took a card base and I took the yellow envelope and I cut them down. So I have 2 pieces that are 4 1/8 inches by 5 1/2. That's this one and this one here. And then from the other flap of the envelope, the other side of the envelope, I have a 3 1/4 inch piece by 4.5, and then this piece is 4.5, but a little bit wider at 4.25 inches. The next step is to take and add your supple shimmer paper. This is the pool party sheet, and I took 5 by 12 inches to set it across here. I've got my card pieces, my envelope pieces that I'm placing below and above where the two pieces, the two papers separate from each other. And because this is a glimmer paper, you'll want to really press hard or use a stronger adhesive to make sure that those photo mats stay in place. Then you can take your strips here and you can add your adhesive by placing 2 of them together, or if you want to, you could use the mono adhesive Tombow, the liquid glue, and add these to your page design. Now for this one, I'm going to take my 2 leaf pieces, and I've already cut them where I shared, and I'm going to just put this one right behind and add this like that to my page. For this extra set of leaves, I'm going to go ahead and just use the multi-purpose glue. So I turned the eggs into flowers and added them with dimensionals. These fun little ribbon pieces were made by taking a couple lengths, so like 2 feet of ribbon. This is our soft succulent sheer ribbon, and you just slice it right down the middle, and it gives you skinny, delicate pieces. And you take those 2 strands and the other 2 strands, because you're going to have a foot and a foot, and you've got 4 skinny strands, and you tie them into a bow, and you'll get that look or this look. And then these guys here are just to kind of act as if they are the photos, but they could be continual photo mats. You could put a smaller photo on top of this, but I'm just placing these here to act as the photos, and they are an 1/8 of an inch difference in measurement. And then last, I did stamp on one of the conversation bubbles, and I'm just going to trim off the little part that makes it a conversation bubble, so now it's just a label. I'm adding it with dimensionals, and I'm just going to stick that in this space up here. So a very fun, summery, or springtime looking scrapbook page with the theme of love, relationships. I pick you. Isn't that cute? My last project is a card. It's a mini card, and I'm going to create a little toaster where the toast pops up. And I grabbed this card idea that I got from Julie Casper's, and this is going to be kind of the inspiration for my toaster. You can see how it slides up and through. So we're going to make a little piece of toast. Thank you, Julie. We're going to make a piece of toast that comes out of a toaster. For the toaster, I'm going to be using some dies called the Gumball Machine dies. I'm using this one here for our toaster. So let's go ahead and trim this down. I'm trimming off 1/8 of an inch from each side. And then I'm going to trim a section that's 3 inches wide and a section that's 2¼ inches wide. This piece I'm going to fold in half, and I'm then going to trim at 3 inches. This is our card base. It's, like I said, it's a mini card. It's a super small card. This piece we are going to die cut. We're going to use the fishbowl looking portion of the Gumball dies. This is actually the Gumball Machine top. And we're going to position that so that you just see the blue through there. Okay, we're not gonna go deeper where we see the white. We're just gonna see the blue, and we're gonna center it on that score. We're gonna place a Post-it note there, or a sticky note, to hold it in place. Then we've got platform 1, 2, 3, and we need one more cutting mat or platform or whatever, cutting mat number three. We're going to crank that through. Next, we're going to die cut the machine base and the little dots. So 1, 2, 3, silver foil, the dies, and another 3 on top. Crank that through. So we're going to do a little bit more trimming here. We're going to cut our toaster now. We're going to bring the top of the toaster, this is going to become the top, to the 1 3/8 inch mark. And just make sure that that line there is kind of parallel with all the other lines on your trimmer. You'll hold it there nice and steady, and you'll trim. And then this piece here that we cut the top of the gumball machine into to make our little slit, we are going to cut that down to 3 5/8. And then we're going to score into both of these sides here at 2 1/4 inches. We need one more piece for the mechanism on our little toaster, and so we're going to grab these little pieces that were left over. We're going to cut a piece that is 1 3/4 inches in height, and we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. I've stamped a couple pieces here using my early espresso ink, and I've also taken that other strip that we cut that was the pair to this one, and I cut it to 2 1/4 inches. That's going to span going across here, so we might as well just add that right now. That's going to be where you can write on the inside of your card. So we're going to fold back in this direction on that piece. We're going to fold forward on this direction in that piece. We'll score them with the bone folder, make sure they're nice and crisp. We're also going to make sure that one's good. So this is the front of our card, and this is the inside. So let's go ahead and add these pieces to the inside. This one's going to connect about 1/8 inch away from the upper edge. Make sure that as you're adding it, that everything looks centered and even all the way down. And then we'll do the same thing on this side, but first we need to add our little pop-up piece here. So I think I'm actually going to make it go this way. I think I want the white showing on the front. So we're going to add adhesive to that portion here. That's going to tuck in, so the tab is coming to the front, and it's going to be centered. And that should be able to slide up and through this portion here of the card, okay? So now we can go ahead and add adhesive onto this. Actually, I think I'm going to add my toast too. So I've stamped my toast, and I think I'm going to add adhesive to the bottom portion of the toast. I tried doing it with the seal, which is why it's still a little like sticky on the bottom, but I think it'll be more stable with some glue. And that will connect to the top portion of this tab, which will slide through that hole. Okay, so everything's lined up. And then this will come down and connect. So it's about 1/8 inch from the bottom. And you can close it shut to make sure everything lines up. Okay, there's our toast coming up. And now we need to add our toaster on the front. And it's okay if it pops up just a little bit higher than the edge there. The idea is to center it and to make sure that it will close. And there's our toast coming out of the toaster. Isn't that cute? And then we'll just add these little guys here and there. And the card is complete. We added this to the front, these two little strips, and then we added the dots on the inside. There's our toast coming out of the toaster. Oh my gosh, so precious. You can pair this card up with our 3x3 envelopes so that you can actually, close it up and give it to somebody. If you enjoyed this video and like the idea of getting in on paper pumpkin kits, this is a great time to purchase prepaids. The 6-month and 12-month prepaids save you a little bit of money. The 3-month and the 6-month and the 12-month will allow you to earn free product from now until February 28th. A prepaid subscription is basically where you pay up front for the number of months that you want. You can also then select Stampin' Rewards if you qualify by having a $150 or more order, or if it's below that, you still qualify for freebies because celebration is going on. Every $50 purchase you make earns you a free pick from the celebration selection of products. And if you're currently a subscriber without a prepaid code in your account, you can still do this. You just purchase a prepaid, then you're going to receive a code via email. You go into your Paper Pumpkin account at www.paperpumpkin.com and you enter the code where it says a code for prepaids. That way your credit card that's already in the system will just be overridden by the code. And for the number of months that you purchase, let's say it's 6 months, you will then get your kits without having to pay any more because you've already purchased them up front. I hope you enjoyed what I shared. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch more Paper Pumpkin videos that I've shared using past kits and more that I'll share with future kits. Also, be sure to visit my website at stampyourartout.com so you can view close-up photos of these projects, see photos of other Paper Pumpkin kit ideas, and see many other great ideas that I share using Stampin' Up! Products. If you're watching my video on YouTube, look for the links in my description below. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.